Happy Friday. Thank you for coming in. Happy Friday. Thank you for coming in. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Right? I just saw somebody. Hi, Jen. How are ya, friend? Can you hear me okay? Happy Friday, Francine. How are you? How are you? Come here. Come here. That's okay, Jen. That's okay. He's been sleeping all afternoon and evening. He plays like a banshee during the day. Hi, Anna Marie. How are you? Thank you, Francine. This is our jolly boy. This is our jolly boy. He's got sleepy face, doesn't he? He does. Aw, thank you, Anna Marie. Thank you. He's growing whiskers. He's growing whiskers. He's got two little spiky whiskers on this side. So he's growing new whiskers. So that's exciting. And see how his stripes are getting darker on his legs? And he feels different too. His fur feels a little bit different. So he's a rascally rascal, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Anna Marie, are you getting ready for school to start? You should be starting school soon. You and Jen, right? Not much of a summer vacation at all, right? At all. I have some warm tea. Let me tell you what I did this morning, right? I was a little bit too anxious, or I was a little bit too anticipating my tea and took it out. No, Anna Marie, are you kidding? Oh, Anna Marie, like Monday, like 9, 10, 11, the 12th? Really? Oh, I'll be thinking of you, Anna Marie. I'll be thinking of you. We all will. We all will, friend. That wasn't much of a summer vacation, wasn't it? Was it? August the 12th. Jen wants to know if it's with the children, or do you get a week without the kids and then the kids start the next week? Is this your prep week coming up, or are you ready to start Monday with the children? Oh, right? I know. All the school stuff. They're buying the school stuff now. We were at Walmart tonight for our Friday fun night, and the aisles, there were parents and kids in the aisles getting their stuff. Okay. All right. So this coming week, next week is your prep week, and then the kids start the next week, right? Well, that's good. That's good. Get in the groove. Get in the groove, right? Get in the groove. So, well, Anna Marie, they have to call it something, don't they? They have to call it something. They have to call it something. Can I tell you, I remember when I was in middle school, the week before school started, they would put your class assignment up on the windows at the front of the school, right? And your parents would drive you there. Right, Jen. Your parents would drive you there, and you'd jump out of the car and you'd look on the list of all the classes to see which was your homeroom class. because in middle school, that's when you started to switch classes, right? So you only had your homeroom teacher. That's where your name was. And I remember we would go and you would look for your name, and then you would see who was in your homeroom class with you, right? That was always exciting. That was always exciting. I don't know if they did it for younger. I don't remember doing it for younger. I think we got like a postcard in the mail that told us who our homeroom teacher was. I think. Um, yeah, yeah. Now, I don't, do you even find out ahead of time now? I think they might have like orientation the day before, that like the week before school starts. They'll have like orientation where you can go and find out your teachers, who your first period teacher is. I don't know. I don't even think they have homeroom anymore. I don't. I think you go right to your first period class, which is considered your homeroom. Let me tell you something. He plays really hard during the day. He does. There are times when I'm trying to do things around here and I wish that he would go to sleep because he just wants to be up. Can I tell you something? He is not afraid of the vacuum cleaner. He's not afraid of the vacuum at all. He's not afraid of the stick vac that I use here on the linoleum, and he's not afraid of the vacuum that we use on the carpeting. He's not one bit afraid. The other cats, they're gone. As soon as the vacuum cleaner comes on, they are gone. Him, not so much. Not so much. He chases the vacuum, he chases it around and then jumps on the cord, and the family room, the floor looks like a toddler lives here with all the little cat toys that are out on the floor all day long. And I'm always picking them up and putting them back in the basket. And then when I come back in the room, they're all back out of the basket. So anyway, so we went for our Friday fun night tonight, and we had super yummy pizza. It was so good. It was so good. And I went to the Goodwill in Sharon. I didn't find anything. I saw one thing, but it was not it was not my color. It was not my color. It was a Talbot's. I'm going to call it a car coat. Do y'all know what a car coat is? So that comes like, I'm going to say halfway between your hip and your knee, right? In length, like a car coat. And it was like a slate blue, and it had, oh my gosh, it was so pretty, but it was like a slate blue, and that is not my color at all. But if it had been navy blue, if it had been like a royal blue, oh my gosh, I so would have got that coat. But that was the only thing I saw there. I didn't see much else. It was a hot mess at the Sharon Goodwill. It was a hot mess. So, but I haven't been to my local Goodwill. I don't have a donation bag full yet. So as soon as I get a donation bag full, I'll go over to my Goodwill. And then we went to Walmart. Right. That's true, Anna Marie. That's true. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. We'll see if it's there next week. We'll see if it's there next week, because I might get it next week if it's there. Because you're right. You're right. I could put like a nice like leopard print black and white scarf with it. Maybe I could probably do that. Even if I think it would be Louise's color. I'm not sure though. I'd have to look in her little booklet that I have. I have this little Color Me Beautiful. I have one for her and one for me, and the colors that she looks good in, and then the colors that I look good in. So I'll have to see if that is in hers, because if it doesn't look great on me, then I can always have her have it for her in case she ever would need something like that. But it was like a trench coat, and it had a belt with it, and it had like a lapel collar. Beautiful Talbots, beautiful. And you know, that's one of my favorite brands. That's one of my favorite brands. So we found a whisker today. Louise found a whisker today. We don't know whose it is. I'm guessing it might have been Sir's. Do you all save whisker? Or does anybody have a cat that's... we save whiskers. We save whiskers. It's good luck in Japan to save the whiskers of your cat. So we save whiskers in an envelope. We do. We save whiskers in an envelope. So, do you, Jen? Save the whiskers? Oh, that's cool too, right? You're the first person I know that has... I've said that, and they said yes. I save whiskers. So, but we found a whisker. Usually, we can tell whose is whose. You know what I mean? Just by like what the root color is, and like the length of it or the thickness of it, we can tell. But I think it's Sir. I think it's Sir, because Buddy has very thick whiskers. Buttons has half black and half white whiskers. His whiskers are so fine still. You know what I mean? So I think it's Sir. I think it's Sir. So, but Louise found a whisker. So, oh, look, you can see his eyes really good. The color of his eyes. Yeah. The Wanderer, right? Remember I told you all about the Wanderer? Well, I saw him again. I saw it again. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. And I talked to my next door neighbor. He was power washing the side of his house here, and we had to move our cars because we only have a driveway in between each house, because, you know, in the city we're really close together. And we were talking about, because Jolly was in the window, and he commented about Jolly. And I said, yeah, I said, have you seen that white wanderer? And he says, oh yeah, he says, I see it quite often going through the backyards. And I said, oh, okay. And he says, it doesn't look like it's hungry or anything. And I said, no, it doesn't. He says, well, it might be somebody's. And I said, well, I said, if it comes into our yard and it wants to make friends, it's coming inside. So, but I did see the Wanderer a few nights ago. Chewy texted me that he was on his way home, and I stepped out onto the back porch to wait for him to come in. Linda! Not those whiskers, friend. How are you? Welcome back. We've missed you. Leave it to Linda, right? Leave it to Linda. Not those whiskers, friend. Not those. Let me tell you something. Some of those can be so fine, right? They feel like a damn pig hair bristle, a boar bristle. And then you go to pluck it and they're so fine you can't even get a hold of it, right? Good. I'm glad. Let me tell you something. We have seen, and we saw tonight on our way home, we saw, remember I told you we had that bad storm the other night, but we have seen electric company trucks from Indiana and Kentucky in our area. So north of us, the storm must have been pretty bad, because we think that those electric companies have come here to help out, to like restore power. And I know that like on the eastern seaboard area, that they've had a lot of the Debbie residual happening, you know, just like heavy rain and all that kind of stuff. And here's something I want to tell you, okay? Because a lot of the summer stuff, this is going to sound crazy, okay? Maybe not. But it wouldn't sound crazy to me, because I would certainly, if I was in a coastal area or I was in a flood-prone area, okay? The summer stuff is going on clearance at the Walmart, and the life jackets are one of the things that are going on clearance. And you might think to yourself, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Lala. Why in the world would I need a life jacket? Well, just watch TV when the hurricanes hit, right? And the people are not prepared, and you see them walking in hip deep water, moving water. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind, because that would be something that I would want to have hanging on the wall in my garage, right? If I was in a coastal area or if I was in a flood prone area, I would certainly want to have life jackets. So just think about that. Just think about that. Because they're all on sale right now at the Walmart. So think about that. I always try and think of things, because when you watch natural disasters in different areas, and you think to yourself, would that apply to me at all? Would that apply to me at all? I don't think that would apply to us here where we live. We're on high ground here in the city. So it doesn't, I don't think it would affect us. But if we were in a different part of the city, or near the river, or near the creek, that might be something that I would definitely, think about having. So, or on the eastern seaboard. I know a lot of people, I think in Florida, I've seen some people say that they had flooding. A lot of people had flooding in, and a raft. I would think a raft would be something good too. You know what I mean? You could put, if it started to flood, you could put things in the raft, and then the raft would just float up with the water, right? I don't know. So anyway, so let's gossip a little bit, shall we? Let's gossip. Remember Wednesday during Circle Time when I said that they were paying influencers $20,000 to go to the DNC? Well, a big Twitch, I guess Twitch is a gaming site or something, kind of like YouTube, but it's gaming. Some huge gamer on Twitch came forward and revealed that he was being harassed by the Harris campaign because he refused to endorse her on his channel. And apparently he's got a humongous channel on Twitch. And he revealed that, they offered him money and everything. And I just watched a video that they are offering YouTube influencers and social media influencers anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to make videos endorsing Harris. Right. So, and I guess she realized it wasn't a good idea to put the entertainment on before she speaks. So now she's speaking first, and then the entertainment is going to be second, because her rallies are being advertised as free concerts. That's what they're being advertised as, with the entertainment. So then the people come there and it's her speaking, and then you get the free concert. Right? She's going to debate Trump. She agreed to debate Trump. He named 3 dates. He wants to debate her 3 times. He named 3 dates, but she only agreed to 1. And I think it's September the 10th on ABC. But the funny thing is, George Stephanopoulos, right? That little puny rat boy, I think he's going to be one of the moderators. I think. But she wouldn't agree to the other ones, which I think was Fox and MSNBC. So that'll be good, right? That'll be good. I can't wait. She hasn't done an interview yet that I'm aware of. She hasn't done one yet, but we'll see. Trump did one yesterday. He came out at Mar-a-Lago and kind of gave a statement and then took questions from the press for over an hour. Just any question they wanted to ask him, they asked it and he answered it. Of course, he did tell them they were stupid a couple times because they did ask dumb questions. They did. And let me just say this, okay? He revealed why he did not go after Hillary Clinton, which she is a criminal. She is a criminal, okay? She is a traitor. She committed treason. She is a criminal. Hillary Clinton, okay? And if you don't think she is, then I want you to cite to me the proof that she's not, okay? But here, listen to this. He gave the explanation when he was president as to why he didn't go after her to prosecute her. And he said because she was the wife of a president and that would not look good. That would be disgraceful to go after the wife of a president and put her into prison. That's why he didn't do it, because he didn't think it would look good. Not look good for him, but not look good for the country to go after the wife of a former president. Let me tell you something. I wouldn't give a shit who you were, right? I wouldn't give a shit who you were. If you sat in the Situation Room and you watched an embassy over in Benghazi be overrun and people be murdered as you're watching it in real time and you did nothing about it, you belong in prison. You do. You belong in prison. You do. And that's exactly what she did. Sat in the Situation Room at the White House as the ambassador is begging for help because the embassy was being overrun in Benghazi. And she didn't give him help. Right? Right. Did you know? I did not know this. Did you know that the Uvalde school where they had that shooting, did you know that they plowed it down? They raised it. Like they plowed it down to the ground. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Yeah. So there's this big lawsuit against the Uvalde Police Department. Go figure, right? Go figure. I did not know. Hear that crinkling? We have a little tunnel, and that's where Jolly Boy likes to get in there and go to sleep in the little crinkly tunnel. So that crinkle you hear is him. I did not know that they knocked that school down, like to the ground. They knocked that school down. Now, don't you find that interesting? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I mean, I get that, I get why you would do it because it's like hallowed ground now, right? Because of the deaths, right? And just like with Sandy Hook, they did not let anybody in that school after that day, and they plowed it down to the ground. Of course, the conspiracy is they didn't want an investigation into the security system and all that kind of stuff, which I think might have been something with Uvalde too. But if you watch the Uvalde tapes, you saw those men stand in the hallway for over 50 minutes while those poor children were locked in their classroom with the gunman, right? But they did. They knocked that, they bulldozed it down to the ground. So now there's this big lawsuit against the Uvalde Police Department. I believe it's like $100 million or something. And the police chief is whining that he is being scapegoated because he was in charge that day. Well, of course you were. You're the police chief, right? I'm getting tired of people that are supposed to be like the top dog, right? And when something happens, it's like not their fault, right? It's not their fault. Yes, Jen. Yes. You know, that was an in and out story, wasn't it? It was very odd. It was an in and out story. Not a lot. Oh, I almost bit my lip. Not a lot was said about it, right? Not a lot. Oh, did you see the body cam that, who was it? One of the senators posted the body cam of J13, the police officer that hoisted himself up onto the roof, and Crooks turned around and pointed the rifle at him, and he dropped back down below the roof. That body cam is leaked. The senator leaked it out onto X. I didn't see it on X because I'm not on X. I saw it it's all over the place. That body cam is out now of J13. Very interesting. Very interesting. It certainly is. Very interesting. So if you're interested, look at that, right? If you're interested, look at that. And guess what else I heard? Kamala Harris's husband has a love child. Just found out about it. The story just came out. Apparently, when he was married to his first wife, because Kamala Harris is his second wife. When he was married to his first wife, he had an affair with the nanny. The nanny got pregnant, gave the baby up for adoption. Then, when he married Kamala Harris, the nanny wanted to strike a deal, kind of like a Monica Lewinsky deal, about Monica Lewinsky wanted to be a VJ on VH1, right? Because Clinton wanted to quiet her down, right? And Vernon, what was his name? Clinton's best friend, Vernon Johnson, he tried to get Monica Lewinsky a job, because he said, what can we do for you to keep you quiet, right? And she wanted to be a VJ on VH1. Monica Lewinsky did. And apparently Clinton was like, that ain't happening. And VH1 was like, that ain't happening. So anyway, let's get back to Kamala Harris's husband's love child, the nanny. So apparently she wanted like a big job. Well, guess what her job is? She's one of the CEOs at Audible Books. Audible. She's one of the CEOs. So one of the CEOs is the prior nanny to Kamala Harris, is the prior side chick to Kamala Harris's husband, and they had a love child, and the love child was adopted. So that just came out. And of course, Tim Walz, that's very interesting, right? This stolen valor thing. Now, here's the deal. There is the Stolen Valor Act, right? And I believe it was enacted in 2013. And it's to keep people, right? Military people and civilians from, what would you call it? From misrepresenting their military service or faking military service, right? And I know you all have seen these videos that go around where former military people will confront people they see out in military uniforms, like BDUs or dress blues or whatever, and they'll go up to them and they'll confront them. And the reason being is because they're wearing something wrong on the uniform, and it's a dead giveaway that they're faking. They're faking it, right? Because, you go into a place with a military uniform on, a restaurant, you walk through Walmart, you get a lot of attention and it's all positive, things like that. And so they passed this Stolen Valor Act in 2013. Well, Tim Walz, when he was 17 years old, he joined the National Guard. Okay? Now, here's what I'm going to say. In my mind, the National Guard is like the second string to the active duty military, okay? To the active duty military. But the National Guard, in my mind, is kind of like a state militia for each state. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you have a natural disaster in your state, the National Guard of your state will come in and help with the disaster, the relief, the cleanup, all that kind of stuff. So in the state National Guard is first string military in the state. So I kind of look at it as like a state militia kind of a thing, right? You're supposed to protect your state if you're called forward. You're supposed to help in your state if you're called forward, that kind of a thing. They're used for policing, crowd control, disaster relief, things like that. The state National Guards, okay? But as far as a nation, I think the National Guard is second string to active duty military, okay? So they're like the backup players, right? Which is, we need that, right? We do. And the National Guard, during times of war, are deployed as backup for our active duty that are over, in combat. And a lot of the National Guards do see combat over there. They're used as supplemental soldiers and, supporting soldiers and things like that. So when he was 17 years old, he joins the National Guard at 17. This is back in the 70s. He serves 24 years in the National Guard, and then he retires. Then 9/11 happens in 2001. Oh, good, Linda. Good. Am I kind of right about what I'm saying, though? That they're like first string for the state, right? But for the national, they're like the second string for the active duty military, right? So they're like their backup team, right? Not any less of a soldier, but they're there, right? I mean, you are volunteering for your state, and you are volunteering knowing that you could be called up for national service, right? You should. And sometimes too, if I'm not mistaken, Linda, the National Guard is activated into active duty during times of war in certain situations. They are brought up into the active duty military from the National Guard, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So, and thank your husband for his service. Thank you. That is, yeah, that is very, it's volunteer, right? It's volunteer. So 9/11 happened. So he retires after 24 years of service. Okay. Now we're talking about Tim Walz. Okay. Retires after 24 years of service. Then 9/11 happens. Okay. 24 years of National Guard service. Then 9/11 happens. He comes back into the National Guard and he enlists for 6 years, which would take him to 2007. Okay? 6-year enlistment, 2007. Okay? Now this is in the Minnesota National Guard. He comes in as like an E8, I think, which is like a first sergeant, I believe, master sergeant or first sergeant. Anyway, so in January of 2005, the Minnesota National Guard unit that he is with gets word that they are going to be deployed to Iraq in January of like 2005. He retires in May of 2005, and he still has till 2007. So he early retires because he finds out that that the unit is going over to Iraq. Now, he also misrepresents, he was not a command sergeant major. He was not. He was frocked into the position of command sergeant major, but he never met the requirements. So sometimes in the military, what happens is you'll have an opening up higher. And what they'll do is they'll take the highest ranking person at the next level below, and they'll put them into this level, and it's called frocking, okay? But when this person goes into this position, they have to meet requirements. They have to go to schools, they have to go in front of boards, they have to be tested, things like that. So you have to meet certain requirements in order to officially become this position, command sergeant major. But he didn't do that. He did not meet the requirements, and time in service also. You have to have time in service. He didn't meet that before he retired. So when he retired and then went into the Congress and said, I'm the highest ranking military official in the Congress, that was not true. He was not a command sergeant major. He never met the requirements for it. And the Minnesota National Guard said, wah, 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 wah. Wait a minute. That's not true. That's not true. You did not. You were not a command sergeant major officially, right? So now that's considered stolen valor because he said, because he's against, he wants to grab the weapons. He's one of those people. He wants to grab the weapons. And he said that he carried weapons of war in war, which alluded to the fact that he was in war. Well, he was never in war. He was never in Iraq. He never went in, even in the 24 years prior when he was in the service, he never was in war. He was never in war. So now there's this stolen valor thing with him, which I think they're really going to go. I think they're really pushing this thing with the stolen valor thing. You know what I mean? There's been a couple of other people that have they've questioned some of the things former military people that are in our government have said things, and people have checked them out and they have not been correct. They have not been correct. But part of this stolen valor act is that you cannot tell a story to benefit yourself with something and something. And him being in Congress and using the fact that he was in the military after 9/11 from 2001 to 2005, that's where they're looking, that he's using that as stolen valor. So that's very interesting if you don't know that, and know that he was in the military, the Minnesota National Guard. He was in there for 24 years and was honorably discharged after 24 years. And then, as a lot of people did, enlisted after 9/11, right? A lot after 9/11. And let me tell you this, if you don't know this, when 9/11 hit, the military did recall some people that had retired 24 months prior. Like for 24 months and up to 9/11, they recalled them back into the military, which is something that you agree to when you retire. You agree to the possibility that you would be recalled back into active duty. So anyway, so there's that with him, plus a whole lot of other stuff with him too. He's just a loon. And I saw a really good montage. You know how you hear people say the same thing over and over. Threat to our democracy, threat to a democracy, threat to democracy, threat to our democracy, threat, you know what I'm saying? Well, when Kamala named him as her VP pick, there's this montage now of what all the news outlets were saying about him. And it's all the same words. So very interesting that, they got the 4 a.m. News drop, right, as to what to say about Tim Walz. But he's a Marxist. He's a Marxist. He got married in China. Did you know that? He married his wife in China. Isn't that weird? That's weird. I heard one news lady say, no, was it Klobuchar? She said something about he probably knows his way around a good hot casserole, which I thought was the weirdest thing ever to hear, right? Knew his way around a good hot casserole, which to me, that's kind of like a diss on the Midwestern people, because one of the funny things or the quirky things about the Midwestern people is they do casseroles, right? So anyway, I think that's interesting. I certainly do. And of course, people are saying, about this Tim Walz with the stolen valor and everything. And they're saying, well, Trump, he didn't go to Vietnam and he used his daddy's money to get out of Vietnam. Really? What did Bill Clinton do? What did Barack Obama do? Neither one of those were in the military either. And Bill Clinton fled to Canada to get away from Vietnam. He certainly did. Or no, he didn't. I think he went to the UK because I think he was a Rhodes Scholar, wasn't he? Somebody went over to the UK to avoid going to Vietnam. So when you say, oh, well, Trump didn't do this, Trump didn't serve his country, we haven't had a true military veteran serve our country for a very long time. I don't think that that holds any weight anymore as far. Thank you, Anna Marie. Thank you. I don't think that holds the weight that it used to. You know what I mean? As far as resume, I really don't. I really don't. Which is a shame. Which is a shame. I mean, you know, in the military, they give out awards if you, I mean, they give out awards now if your shoes are shiny. Right? They do. Look at the generals now. Look at their chest, right? And all the ribbons. And then look back at like Eisenhower and Patton and look at their ribbons, right? I mean, don't tell me that the generals of today are better than the generals of World War I or World War II or Vietnam, because they're not. They're not. Especially Millie. Especially Millie. I'm waiting for him to show up with painted fingernails and eyeshadow on. I certainly am. Which would be hilarious because that's what my grandfather would call a handsome woman. Right? A handsome woman. So anyway, that's just the gossip. That's the gossip. That's the gossip. Yeah. That's the gossip. I can't believe we're almost in the middle of August. That's not fair. Why does it seem like summer goes by so quick, but fall, winter just drags and drags and drags, right? Just drags. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I'm not. We'll have to think up some fun things to do, won't we? We will. I think I'm going to do a needlepoint. I have a needlepoint that I think I might do this winter, so I'll work on that. Nope, you can't, Anna Marie, can you? You certainly can't. And then, of course, the Mr. Beast stuff, right? If any of you have children, any of you right there, because I see all of you right there. If any of you have children and your children are into Mr. Beast, you need to educate yourself on Mr. Beast and what is happening. Okay? Rethink that. Rethink that. Because all that stuff's coming forward too. Let me tell you something, Cat Williams. He didn't even have a magic ball on Club Shay Shay, did he? He did not have a magic ball on Club Shay Shay. It was craziness. He was right, though. He was right. I'll do a garden tour for next week. We had to pull quite a bit of things. We had to pull them and stake them up because of that storm that came through with the wind and the rain. The urns out front that had the fabulous red and white petunias that look like our Starlight mints, our spicy cinnamon mints that we love so much. We took them out. They just got pounded. Excuse me. I said to Chewy, do you want me to shear them back again? He said, no. It's towards the end of the season, Lala. We're just going to yank them out. I said, okay. And then the petunias on the back stoop, gone. And then we had to pull a couple of things out in the garden. We're hoping for a couple of more zucchini. We certainly are. So, and I'm watching my neighbor's tree. Is it? Okay, it's not that tree. It's the tree that's over here that you can see out of the corner windows. I'm watching that real close around the edges because pretty soon here it's going to start turning burgundy around the edges of the tree, right? I know. I don't think it was very hot up here this summer. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I know it was very hot in other places, but was it really hot? Was it because it's summertime, right? Was it really hot? Or was it just that you were being told it was really hot? That when it got above 90 degrees, the weather map turned red, right? Where in years past, it didn't do that, right? It didn't turn red. Or like if it was like 92 degrees on the weather map, you know, like 5 years ago, 92 degrees would have been in white, but now 92 degrees is in red. And you see it with your eyes and you're like, ooh, 92 degrees, red, hot, right? I don't think it's been as hot. I don't think it's been unusually hot, right? And plus two, we've got that, yeah. But it's supposed to be hot in the summer, Anna Marie. Don't you agree? I mean, no matter where you are, you know, I mean, even up in Maine, right? They might have, like, hot to them is like 75 degrees is tropical, you know, up in Maine, like here too. You know, I mean, in the wintertime, if it gets like above 50, people open their pools here, you know, because it's warm here. So at 50, of course, at 50, I'm still bundled up like a crazy person. So, you know, but, I wanted to tell you this too. If any of you, right? Okay, 3 or more days of 90 degrees is considered a heat wave? Huh. Well, that's easy, isn't it? That's easy to meet in the summertime. I don't know. I've just heard a lot of people this summer like bitching about the heat. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, it's so hot. Oh my God, it's so hot. Oh my God, I couldn't go outside because it's just so hot. And I've never heard people bitch about it before, like in years past. Jen, I'm wearing my turtlenecks at 70 degrees. I'm wearing them at 70. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to wearing the turtlenecks. I am. Because you know how much I love myself a good turtleneck. I certainly do. That's hilarious, right? That's hilarious. But I wanted to tell you all. So one of the things that, so I was born in the 60s, okay? I was born in the 60s. And a lot of things happened in the 60s, right? A lot of things happened. But I was so young, right? I was so young that I didn't know, I don't remember them. I know about them and I remember them into the 70s, right? Because a lot of things got carried into the 70s. So I remember these things, right? And, you know, with Biden and Trump and Obama, you know, all this bullshit that's been going on, there's a lot of people that all of a sudden I have noticed with the coup that happened with Biden, which it was a coup. It was a coup. Okay? It was a coup. The sitting president of the United States was overthrown by his own administration and his people. Okay? Where is he? Where is he? Okay. A lot of people have been bringing up Richard Nixon. And a lot of people, now I had heard this before, right? I had heard this before, that Watergate was actually a coup against Richard Nixon. I had heard people say that before, right? I had heard people say that before. And all of a sudden, I had started hearing people recently, like historians, comparing the Watergate stuff to what just happened to Biden, right? Because it was a coup against Nixon with Watergate, and it was a coup against Biden, right, with the failed assassination attempt on Trump. Because I think Trump, that was plan A, and plan B was the coup removing Biden, right? Removing Biden from, from the presidency, right? Because you notice everybody's referring to Harris as President Harris now, right? Well, where the hell is Biden? Where is Biden? And now, all of a sudden, this stuff has leaked about Hunter, right? With the foreign lobby thing, right? The foreign representative thing that has leaked about him and Joe, right? Right. So I didn't know a lot about Watergate. I didn't know a lot about it. I knew that it had to do with a break-in. I knew that there was this mysterious man called Deep Throat. I knew that, everybody knows the famous line, "I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook." And everybody knows this, this thing that Nixon did at the steps of Marine One, right? The helicopter before he left, right? And his resignation speech the night before, right? Everybody knows about that because you've seen it many, many times. And you probably learned about it in school, right? Tucker Carlson on his YouTube channel interviewed a man, Jeff, Geoff. It's just, Linda, I'm not so sure that's what they called him. But there's a lot of historians that say that he was a very good president, and that they, because of Kennedy, right, they couldn't do that to Nixon. So what they had to do was they had to assassinate his reputation, right? Because, that was close, right? So if you are at all interested in Watergate, right, or your best boys are interested in Watergate, go watch Tucker Carlson and that interview with Jeff, I want to say Sanders, but I don't think it could be Sanders. He just did it, but it's about Watergate. And let me tell you something, he lays it out and tells you exactly, because he was in the administration. Now, it all boils down. Hi, Fran. Hi. It all boils down to a naughty picture of someone's fiance in a call girl book. It does. That's why they broke in to the Watergate offices. They were looking for a black book that had pictures of call girls in it. And one of those call girls happened to become the fiance of someone in the administration. And he didn't want anybody to find out that his fiance was a call girl. That's the basis of the Watergate break-in. It wasn't to fix, and G. Gordon Liddy, I think he had Napoleon syndrome. Was he a short man? Was G. Gordon Liddy? He was bald, right, with a mustache. Is that true? He was bald with a mustache. I think he was a short man, right? So, and then of course you've got that crazy ass bear story that RFK told to Roseanne Barr. Oh my God, that's blowing up, right? That's blowing up. Bald with a mustache, right? Is Oliver North, is he still alive? Do you remember him? He was Iran-Contra, right? Was he Iran-Contra? Is he still alive, Oliver North? I remember that. Do you remember that? Holy cow, right? That was before everybody started giving the middle finger to Congress when they had to come in and speak, right? Of course, I think Oliver North might have been the scapegoat, right? They needed a scapegoat. Because remember this. Remember this, right? Celebrities, government, big corporations, things like that. When something goes wrong, they've always got somebody they're going to throw under the bus, right? And usually it's the best soldier, because throw them under the bus, right? Right. And I always say this, you're a good soldier until you're not a good soldier, right? You're a good soldier until you're not a good soldier. And there's a rumor going around that Joe Biden seems to have recovered his faculties, and he is on the warpath with Nancy Pelosi and Oliver North. Do you remember him? He was a Marine, wasn't he? He was a Marine. I remember that. Man, they interrupted the soaps for that stuff on TV. Do you remember? Right? Are the soaps even on anymore? Do they have a soap opera channel? They're probably not anything like they used to be, right? Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool to like go back and watch Wouldn't it be cool to go back and watch like the old soaps, like Ryan's Hope, and like go like way back, and like the commercials that were during the commercials? It's still on, Fran? Oh my gosh, right? That's got to be crazy. That's got to be crazy. That's got to be. Now, Fran, am I correct that Bobby, the actress that played Bobby, she passed away? Am I correct? Not too long ago, right? Zeman, what was her name? I think she passed away, right? Is Luke still on there, Fran? Oh my God, he's 1,000 years old. And Jeannie Francis, is she still on there? She's got to be 1,000. Right. She's got to be 1,000 years old too. Do you remember when they got married? Do you remember? And you remember the song, Think of Laura. Da, 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 da. If you go on YouTube, they show the wedding. Oh my God, it's so cheesy. It's so cheesy. It is. But that would be fun to like go back and like start watching the soaps from when they first started, right? Commercials included, right? That would be so cool. That would be so cool to do. I think it would be fun. I do. I think it would be fun. Mm. He died on the show, and Jeannie Francis, Laura, is the mayor of Port Charles. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Do you remember that? I remember this. Do you remember when Luke, Laura, do you remember? And I remember that episode because they did a warning. They did a warning before that particular episode. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Because that was like the first time, right? It had ever been on TV. Do you remember? You can watch those on YouTube. You can watch it. And like when they were in the disco, oh my God. I never liked Luke. I liked Scotty more. He was like more my type back then. You know what I mean? But then Scotty turned out to be a dick. He did. His mother named him. His mother didn't name him Richard, but everybody, when you were in high school, Fran, I think I was probably in middle school. Let me tell you something. I can remember being in kindergarten, okay, coming home. My mom had the ironing board set up in the living room with the TV, and I would have like tomato soup and bologna and cheese sandwich, or I would have chicken noodle soup and like peanut butter sandwich, and I would sit in front of the TV. My mom would be behind me ironing, and we would be watching like Ryan's Hope and like The Edge of Night. And that was in the late 60s, early 70s. I know, right? Crazy. And I watched, all the way up until it got really ridiculous. Now, I remember when Bold and the Beautiful, when that premiered on TV, The Bold and the Beautiful. I remember when that premiered. I remember The Young and the Restless with Snapper. Do you remember Snapper? And then President Ford's son, he was on The Young and the Restless. I remember that. So it's just, they're probably nothing like they were, right? Nothing like they were. Oh, you didn't have a TV. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can I tell you something, Fran? I've heard a lot of immigrants say that the way they learned English was to watch soap operas. To watch soap operas. That a lot of immigrants that came over that didn't know English when they came over, right? That they would watch soap operas, and that's how they would learn English. Isn't that interesting? That would be a way to learn it, I guess, right? Of course, then again, you'd have to know not to be so over dramatic when you say the words, right? But I know that a lot, and I know that a lot of people, like in the Philippines and Asia, that they named their children after celebrities here in the United States. Yeah. When Louise was in school, Fran, I would have her watch Spanish shows. When she was first learning Spanish, I would have her watch the Spanish shows so she could get used to hearing it and pick up words easily. I would have her watch like Telemundo or something like that on TV. So they say that the telenovelas, is that what Spanish soap operas are? That they are better than the American ones. Which I bet they are. Manuelo. I bet they are. So, yeah, yeah. Oh, I have to tell you this. Get ready, everybody. Get ready. Because once it starts to turn cold, they are juicy. They are juicy. I know, Fran. I know. Once it starts to get cold, you know what we're going to see, right? You all know what we're going to see because they're coming out now at the Walmart because they're bringing out the fall stuff. They're bringing out the fall clothing. They're bringing out, we're going to start seeing those hideous, hideous polar fleece onesies, right? So we're going to see a lot of infantilized adults walking around thinking that they are Hello Kitty, that they are Winnie the Pooh, that they are Ninja Turtles, that they are Pokemons, right? Right. So let me just tell you something, boys and girls, okay? Let me just tell you something. If you choose to, for whatever reason, relive your traumatic childhood that you tell everybody about every time you see them, right? And walk around in those ridiculous polar fleece onesies, right? As an overgrown infant, for God's sake, wear a bra and wear underwear. Boys, wear underwear. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see it. And here's another thing. To make it look even better, wear your Crocs. Wear your Crocs with that ridiculous looking outfit that you're going to have on. Okay? Wear your Crocs. Because as hard as I'm going to laugh at you and come back and tell all of my friends the ridiculousness that I've seen, okay? Because I'm going to laugh my ass off at you. I certainly am. They're coming out, friends. I saw them. They're hanging in the pajama section at the Walmart. They are, right? That's going to be fun, isn't it? That's going to be fun. I know, Fran. I know. The slopification of America. Let me tell you something, Anna Marie. You don't know how many times I say that in my head every single day. Every single day. I say it in my head. No, not a one. No, they shouldn't, Jen. They shouldn't. But that's the infantilization. That's the infantilization of adults, right? That's the infantilization of adults, right? It certainly is. That's, because I truly believe, this is what I believe. I believe that the higher ups, corporations, the mental health community or professionals, all that, I believe what they're doing is it's like Freaky Friday. They're swapping children and adults. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Right? I mean, you have to think about this. 10 years ago, we didn't see grown-ass men, right, walking around with grown-ass men. All men, all grown-ass, all the way up, right? You didn't see them walking around in Ninja Turtle shirts. You didn't see women walking around with Winnie the Pooh shirts on or whatever. You didn't see that shit 10 years ago. You certainly did not. You didn't. Right? But then all of a sudden, right, it's like, you know, you've got your adult onesies, and you've got your adult Happy Meals, and you've got your adult coloring books, and you've got your, you know what I'm saying? You know, as long as you put adult in front of it, it makes it okay for a grown-up, right? It makes it okay for a grown-up. Good, Anna Marie. Good. Give him my name. Give him my name, right? You know what I'm saying? But look at the different things. Look at the different things, right? And you can see how they have infantilized adults, right? Recapture your youth, recapture your childhood. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Let me tell you something. When I heard an adult say that for the very first time, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's right. That's an app, isn't it, Jen? Is that an app? I think it's an app. I was a teenager. Okay, I was a teenager, and I heard an adult. Yeah, right, Anna Marie? And I heard an adult say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Okay? To a kid, okay, that's panic. I mean, that gives you panic as a kid. When you are a child and you hear an adult say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, right? And here's this kid thinking to themselves, what the hell are you talking about? You are grown up. You are grown up. What are you talking about? Right? So just think back. Think back. Right? Think back to all these little things that kind of creeped in, you know, canaries in a coal mine, creeped into our society without, you know, without us even realizing it. Right? You know, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. You don't have to grow up. You never have to grow up. You don't have to figure out what you want to be. You don't have to take on adult and like, you know, I'm adulting today. You know what I mean? I'm adulting today. What does that mean? What does that mean? That you put on big girl panties today? That you're doing what you're supposed to do? That you're doing the laundry, you're doing the dishes, you're taking care of a family that you chose to have, right? That's being an adult. You're adulting today. Do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Right? I mean, it's just like, right? But you could see it. You could see it coming. You could see it coming. Right? Just look back and think to yourself, you know, look to your grandparents, look to your parents, and you may have started to see it with your parents, right? Because that's when Oprah, right, started telling everybody, and psychiatrists and therapists, right, and doctors, medical doctors, you know, started telling everybody to, you know, recapture your youth. Young at heart, you know, you don't have to grow up. You don't have to figure out what you want to be. You can be a lifelong learner, you know, an eternal college student, right? I mean, just a bunch of bullshit, we need adults is what we need. Responsible adults. Good. Good. Anna Marie, you can use what Chewy says. Chewy says casual Friday is not sloppy Saturday. That's his thing. That's his thing. And he had to pull casual Friday for a while until the message was received, right? Until the message was received, he pulled casual Fridays, right? Because casual Fridays turn into sloppy Saturdays. And then sloppy Saturdays carry over into sloppy Sundays, and you see flip-flops in the Lord's house, right? You do. You do. You do. Do you remember who was it? Was it Obama or was it Bush? Do you remember when that team, the girls' team, went to the White House? And do you remember they all wore fancy flip-flops? Do you remember that? And do you remember how like the public like jumped on those girls? Do you remember when the flip-flops, you had like fancy flip-flops, and then you had like casual flip-flops, and then you had like, flip-flops. You know what I mean? But do you remember when that team, that sports team went to the White House because they were being honored for something? Do you remember that? And the girls showed up in the dressy flip-flops, and like the public was like, what the hell are you doing? You are going to the White House and you're wearing flip-flops. And the girls were like, cool it. They're dressy flip-flops. I paid $30 for them. Do you remember that? Was that Bush? I'm thinking it was Bush. It was a girls' team, and they wore the flip-flops, the dressy flip-flops. I remember when those came out. I was like, oh, dear God. Now we have to see everybody's talons. We have to see everybody's fungus-infested nails, right? I mean, come on. Come on. I would be very interested to know. Well, I have a theory about the nail fungus. I have a theory about that. I do. Do you notice it's not on your hands? It's on your feet. Not on your hands, right? I don't see very many people that have nail fungus on their hands. I don't think I've ever seen anybody. But let me tell you something. I've seen a hell of a lot of it on the feet. I would want to know, although I have a theory about toenail fungus, I would want to know, right, I would want to know when toenail fungus became a thing. Now, I'm not talking about athlete's foot because that's been around for forever, right? Forever. That's been around. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that gross, disgusting toenail fungus, right? And once you get it, you got it. You can't get rid of it. No amount of antibiotic is going to get rid of that toenail fungus. The only thing you can try and do is slow it down. Although the motivational doc does have a home remedy that he says he uses himself and it worked on him. So if you have toenail fungus, go look at the motivational doc on his channel because he gives you a remedy for it. And he says it worked for him. He does. But you can do Vicks. You can rub Vicks on the nail. And then I do that like every 2 weeks, just on each one of my nails. I don't have fungus though, but it's to prevent it. But I would want to know When flip-flops started, right? When flip-flops started to be worn, and the correlation of nail fungus. What was that? Right? That's what I would want to know. Right? Because I would want to know if there was a spike in nail fungus in the toes when flip-flops became everyday wear. Okay? That's what I would want to know. That's what I would want to know. And let me tell you something. At Lilleybugglane, you don't have to take off your shoes when you come into the house. As a matter of fact, I insist that you keep them on. Right? I insist that you keep them on. Because, let me tell you why. Okay? First of all, because we don't live in Japan. We don't live in China. We're not an Asian country. So you don't need to remove your shoes before you come into my house. The feng shui is just fine in Lilleybugglane. That's number one. Number two, okay? This is a generalized statement, okay? There are people who allow their dogs to shit on the floor in their own homes, and they walk around barefooted, okay? So, if you think for 2 hot seconds that I'm going to have you remove your shoes and have your feet on my floors, you're smoking dope, because that ain't going to happen. Number 3, I can deal much quicker with whatever you're going to bring in that is on the bottom of your shoes than I can with whatever is hidden on the bottom of your feet through your nasty, crusty socks that you take out of the dirty clothes and stick on your feet, right? So keep your shoes on when you come in to Lilleybugglane. We don't have cheap carpet, so I'm not worried about the carpet. And you're not going upstairs into the bedroom areas of Lilleybugglane. So all I have to worry about is down here. And that can be taken care of just like that. But here, you keep your shoes on. You keep your shoes on. You do. You do. I mean, look at the feet of people that are walking around. Do you want that on your floors? No. We've had people come, right? Like our friends, right? And they will intentionally start to take their shoes off, knowing that they can keep their shoes on. But they'll start to take their shoes off, and it totally puts me into like a full-on meltdown where I am begging, but they just do it to razz me up. You know what I'm saying? They do it to razz me up because they know that they're going to keep their shoes on, but they'll like start to act like they're going to take their shoes off. And I'm like, no, keep your shoes on, right? Because I've seen what your feet look like without your shoes on. And I don't want that on my floors. I don't. So anyway, that was just a rant. But I would want to know the correlation of the societal acceptance that flip-flops are your default shoe and the increase in diagnoses of fungal toes, right? And fungal feet, right? I would want to know the correlation because people are so afraid of viruses, right? Viruses. Okay? You need to worry about bacteria, okay? That's what you need to worry about is bacteria. Not viruses, bacteria. That is what you need to be worried about. right? And you get all kinds of bacteria on the floors when you're walking around with your flip-flops on everywhere you go, right? So just be careful, friends. Just be careful. And the Crocs too, right? I mean, that plastic, how do you know that plastic's not leaching into the bottom of your shoes, right? And let me tell you something. Some of these feet that I see in these Crocs, you know shit's leaking. You know shit's leaching up into those feet because they're all cracked and dry and gross looking, crusty, right? Right? I mean, you wash them every 2 weeks. Your feet, not the Crocs, right? Right. Wouldn't that be hilarious if they found BPE in Crocs? Like they did those, like they found the lead in the Stanley Cups. Wouldn't that be hilarious? What would people do? Let me tell you something. You could solve a whole lot. They are, Anna Marie. They are so bad for people's feet. They are. Watch people walk in them. Watch people walk in them. And then you'll know. You'll know how bad they are. And they buy them like 4 times too big. They don't use the back heel strap on them, right? They're just horrific for your feet. They really, really are. They were not intended to be worn. You know, they were intended for surgeons and nurses in the operating rooms. That was the intention of them in the beginning. Because when I was in nursing school, there were surgeons that wore them in the operating room. So they weren't meant for the general public. You know, and then they became popular. Right. Well, and they walk on the outsides of their feet. Watch them. They walk on the outsides of their feet, which cause their knees to not line up, which cause their hips not to line up, which causes their backs to hurt, right? And they waddle when they walk in Crocs, right? Now, I've seen Crocs that have like a tennis shoe bottom, like the littles. You know, they've got the Crocs that have the strap on the back, and the bottom of the shoe is like a tennis shoe. I know Crocs for the littles have those, right? And to me, if you were like on vacation at a boardwalk or something like that, that would be an appropriate shoe for the littles to wear. Like, you know, in a beach situation or a boardwalk situation or a picnic situation at a picnic at a park or something like that. You know what I mean? But not with a tennis shoe bottom, you know, not that plastic bottom. Now, let me tell you something. Louise has Crocs. She does. She wore them up at school and enjoyed them up at school and everything, but they had to fit her, and she had to wear them with the back strap on them, right? And she wore them with socks because she couldn't stand to she did not like to wear them with socks. So she wore like the little footy socks with them. But she has 2 pairs of Crocs, you know, which I'm not keen on, but that's, you know, that was her and that's what she wanted to do. And, you know, but they weren't her regular shoes. They weren't her regular shoes. And both of my kids, when they were learning to walk, I don't know if any of your children did, but when my children were learning to walk, we went to Stride Rite and got them the hard bottom shoes, the white leather hard bottom shoes. Who remembers those? Because when Bunny was little, I remember my dad took us, and my mom and dad bought Bunny his pair of hard bottom Stride Rite shoes. Do you remember? And they were white leather, right? And they came up over the ankle of the baby, the infant, right? And they laced up, and they were hard bottomed. Do you remember that? Do you remember? Hard bottom. Right? And you could buy the little bell that you would stick the bow into, right? And then you would screw the ends so that they couldn't untie their shoes. Do you remember that? Buster Brown? Yep. Yep. But Stride Right. And Bunny wore Stride Rights until he was like 5 or 6. And he was born in the 80s. So, I mean, that was a thing back then. And then when Louise was born in the early 2000s, it was harder to find the Stride Right, but we did find them. The Stride Right stores were no longer, but we did find the hard-bottomed Stride Rights for her also. I think hers were Mary Jane's, though. I don't think they made those white. And we all have pictures of us as children, as infants, learning to walk in those Stride Right shoes because everybody had them. Everybody had them. Right? But now you see the young children, and they're wearing Crocs, they're wearing flip-flops, thong flip-flops. I mean, sneakers that are very not supportive to their feet and stuff. You know what I mean? Until women's size. I remember when Velcro came out for shoes when Bunny, I think he was in elementary school. And I remember when Velcro came out, and all the parents were thrilled because then they didn't have to tie their child's shoes anymore. The kids could put their shoes on themselves. But what did that cause to happen? The children didn't learn to tie their shoes either. And tying your shoes not only is a rite of passage as a child, but it also teaches you fine motor skills, right? That's one of the things they don't, they're very worried about that. Yeah. I would say no open toes either, Anna Marie. I would say no open toes because that could be dangerous too. But, you can't solve all the problems of the world, even though you'd like to, even though you're choking on tea. Oh, let me tell you what happened to me. Let me tell you what happened to me this morning. I was starting to tell you earlier, and then we got off topic, and then we're going to say goodnight. So I wake up in the morning, right, and I come down, and I usually have my cup of bone broth, because I'm still doing that. If you don't do a cup of bone broth, 1 cup, which is 8 ounces, 1 cup of bone broth, it can be chicken or beef. I prefer chicken. Every morning, I would encourage you to start doing it because you will feel a difference in about a week to 10 days if you start drinking 1 cup of bone broth in the mornings. I like to warm it up. So I did that, and then I did a couple of my morning chores, right? So then I was hankering for a cup of tea, right? So I make myself a cup of tea, and I was so wanting this cup of tea that I took a big old swig of the tea. Well, it was burning hot tea this morning. Burning hot tea. I burned my tongue so bad. I have bumps. I can feel the taste buds have like swollen up on my tongue. It's excruciating. No, it's not. But if you take your tongue and like put it over your teeth, oh, it hurts, right? So all day long, I was like feeling my taste buds. Oh, are you, Fran? Well, I gulped this tea, and let me tell you something. As soon as I gulped it, I felt it on my tongue, and then I'm holding it in my mouth. It's hot, so I swallowed it, and I could feel the hotness go all the way down. And I'm like, why did you do that, Lala? Because I was really looking forward to some tea. I was really looking forward to some tea. So anyway, all right, friends, thank you so much for spending this time with me, keeping me company tonight. It was a quiet Friday night here at Lilleybugglane. It certainly is. And we're just going to be doing our usual stuff this weekend. We will be at the sink tomorrow. We will. And I'll be using a new sponge. I will. And good night, Fran. Good night. Have a good evening, friend. Have a good evening. Oh, Fran, where did I see it? There's a new Lego flower thing out. Where did I see it? Where did I see it? I don't know, Fran. If I think about it, I'll tell you. It might have been on Instagram, Fran. I saw a new Lego flower kit out. If I find it, I'll let you know. I'll send it to you. But anyway, so we're just going to do our usual stuff here at Lilleybugglane this weekend. Chewy and Louise are going to go up north. Oh, did you? Did you, Fran? This one looked pink. The flowers were pink, if I'm remembering correctly. It might have been on Instagram, Fran. It might have been on Instagram. But it was an ad because I don't follow Lego or anything like that. So it might have been an ad on Instagram. If I come across it again, I'll send it to you. Let me tell you something, Fran. The ones at Walmart are really pretty. They're very, very pretty. The ones at Walmart. Very pretty. And I liked your diamond painting too. I did. I thought that was cute. But Chewy and Louise are going to go up north tomorrow. They're going to take a little road trip. I'm going to stay here because I got to take care of Jolly Boy. Good night, Jen. Good night. Thanks for coming in, friend, and chatting. Anna Marie, you too. Linda, are you there? Thanks for coming in, friend. Fran, have a nice night. And to all of you, I'm so glad you were here. I'm so glad. If you're watching on the replay and I've kept you company while you were doing whatever you were doing, please feel free to leave a comment down below. We always love to hear from our OGs and from our visitors that are just passing by Lilleybugglane, don't we? We certainly do. Are we ready, friends? I think we're ready. I hope you are happy. I hope you are happy. I hope you are healthy. Take your zinc every day. It is up to us. And I hope you are safe. I certainly do. I think of you all often. You are never far in my thoughts. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for keeping me company, everybody. Good night.